Hello and welcome to another episode of Combos and Chill. Man, today I have a lot of good stuff to tell you guys. Actually, three things I'm very excited for. First of all, seeing you guys again on this channel for another episode, episode 18. We're on episode 18 already. So, second thing, I gonna be having one of my oldest friends in the scene, and his name is Fillon, from the legendary pioneers of the punk rock movement since 2000, if I'm not mistaken, 2008ish or 2006ish. That's my mistake, or there. Fillon from Sandwash. And the third major announcement that I want to do, it's going to be at the end of this session. I'll be telling you guys what is it, so stick around and tell your friends to tune in. Share this video with your friends, let them know about the page, let them know about this content so we can create more stuff for you guys so you guys can be part of this family. So, I already gave an introduction that my guest is Fillon from Sandwash. So, with no further ado, Michael, welcome to the session, bro. How you doing?
Hey, bro, I'm doing well. How are you?
Not bad, man, not bad. How's things with you, bro?
Very good, bro. Thanks for having me on the show. And just want to congratulate you on being able to get this up and running. And also want to encourage you and other show hosts out there to keep doing stuff like this, to keep staying productive and keep building culture around our artistic community, be it music, film, or whatever pursuit.
Yeah, man, dude. I mean, this is all COVID-19 fruits, COVID-19 made us go this way, bro. I mean, as I always say it in my show, is that because I miss that live interaction with the audience, because as a musician we love that gives you that rush. So that was one of the main factors that made me go and do this. So I'm very thankful for that feeling. It kept me alive, and now I'm actually seeing the fruits of it, and the whole being in touch with old school friends such as you and Barney and these guys. That's the whole thing. We don't have time to catch up, but now it's the best time to sit down and nitpick on stuff that was back then, now what we can talk about and share information. You let me in about something and I'll we talk about it. Anyway, this show is regarding me and my guests clicking on topics that we share the same interest, and we talk about it over a cup of tea, but in that case you're having a cup of coffee.
Yeah. It's past midnight here. It's 12:32 where I am. So
yes.
doing my best to stay active outside of my regular bedtime hours.
And I think the coffee would make that way more active.
Yeah, hopefully.
So how you been, man? How you been coping up with the whole pandemic? Give us a backbone to what you've been up to, bro.
Well, I've been busy. I've been doing a few things on my personal project side. So being in lockdown allowed me to work on my personal projects. So one of them is this online video called The Challengers, which
we're going to be talking about.
We will be talking about. You have been very supportive of that. Thank you so much, Ahmed. It's a show. It's a show where we talk about topics that are mainly related to entertainment. So things you can watch on Netflix, things that you can watch in your sports broadcast and video games. And pretty soon we're going to be diversifying into food.
That's
so
great,
quite
bro.
a few topics. Yeah, quite a few topics that we're covering there. That's one thing. The other thing is I've been working on my narratives again. So I've been writing a book that I am now trying to produce into other formats, podcast, illustration, and so on. And most important of all, I've learned how to be a pretty good personal chef to my children. So
you've been
I've learned how to cook. I've been cooking like crazy.
COVID made you a cook. We can say that?
I did. Yeah, you could say that. I used to love cooking, but my portfolio back then was just the simple stuff like steak and macaroni. But now I've learned how to make proper Filipino dishes and more intricate
Just name us few, man.
experimentations in
Name
the
us few,
kitchen.
man. I mean, I know few because of my girlfriend. So name us few that you do.
Sinigang, I can cook sinigang now. Nilaga, I can cook adobo. Adobo's the classic, of course. I can do caldereta. I can do afritada. I can do pinakbet. I
Yes.
can do quite a few. You like pinakbet? You just
Yes.
told me the other day.
Yeah, because I'm vegan, bro. My favorite, as I told you, was the papaitan. That
Yeah.
stuff is just legit delicious.
Papaitan is not good for you, Ahmed.
I know. It's
Especially since, I mean, you eat papaitan and you gotta be ready to say goodbye to this world early.
exactly. It's just hungover food. By the way, we already got a lot of people in the comment section. We got Cromwell Ojeda in the house. We got Mark Legaspi. We got Achilles in the house. And they're saying, yo, what's up? The challengers. And Achilles is asking a question right from the bat. He's asking, what's your book about?
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm writing a book called How to Spend 2 Million Gobards.
Can you give us more? What is a go-board? I mean,
yeah, this is going to be
educate me.
complicated. Okay, so you're going to have to give me a few seconds to explain this.
for sure, bro. Because
So,
before you start, I'm sure no one knows about this, so we need to dig into it. So
yeah,
fill
it's,
us in, bro.
it's still quite secret, but just before I start, also I want to shout out to all of my friends who are tuning in right now. Crom and Mark, that's fantastic. The love of my life, Casey is here. Thank you so much. Yes, I will cook you tinola soon, darling.
Yes.
And to answer Achilles' question, there's a book that I'm writing, which is basically what happens after the end of the world. And a few hundred years from there, society has crumbled into a wasteland. And in this fictional world that I've created, the currency is called the Gobard. And every chapter in the book just explains to you what you could do with 2 million of this fictional currency.
Very interesting.
So-
It's already giving me a Harry Potter type of feel. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just me.
yeah, it's a little bit more like Mad Max meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Mad Max, that movie.
And and the references in the book are all very, inspired by the places that I grew up in. So there's a character there called the Barber of Diafa.
Diafa, you mean
there's-
Dubai Diafa?
Yeah, there's a character called the Barber of Diafa. There
Dude,
is,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Because-
and in this, yeah,
Go for because the way I'm thinking about it is like, there will be like, what is Diafa? There will be like, oh, it might be some, some ancient like Latin or something, has to do with something like that. And then like, it's just a street in Dubai.
yeah.
That's
yeah,
the beauty
yeah.
of it. Okay, so go ahead.
Absolutely, and there's a place. The most expensive hotel in this fictional world is called the Bilibid Hotel, and I named it after the Bilibid prison, which is a notorious prison in the Philippines.
Oh,
But
okay.
in this world, it's the most luxurious hotel you can stay in. So yeah, it's an interesting project. But I got bored writing it. I thought, like who gives a shit about the written form anymore? Like it takes too much time to actually sit down and try to read something. So I decided to record them into audio form, and that should be coming out soon. And of course, that is also inspired by other work out there that have successfully done this, such as A Short History of Nearly Everything. That's a really nice book that was turned into an audio podcast. And Welcome to Night Vale is an audio podcast too. All fictional narratives that are very interesting. Makes you want to listen to that and just slowly sink into that world effortlessly.
And okay, what was the motive behind this? What it came to your mind? Okay, what was the first thing that you started writing about that all the other things came along?
To be honest with you, I really don't know.
Was it the Alpha one?
I really don't know. I just sat down. This is usually how I come up with ideas. I have these fragmented ideas in my head, Sometimes they manifest as songs, sometimes they manifest themselves as ideas in the work that I do. And sometimes they just become narratives, you know, like stories. So I just sat down and I started freestyling, and then eventually a story started to come out. And then I thought, this could be interesting if I create a guide on how to spend money that is completely fictional, you know, and what you could do with it. And of course, every chapter is about something ridiculous that you could do with that cash. Like, you know, I don't want to give away too much, but in one chapter, what you could do with that amount of money is you can get the most expensive haircut in the universe. And it's a haircut that's that expensive because the barber's chair is sitting inside a singularity where time and space does not exist. So you can actually
Rick and Morty stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah. We love us some Rick and Morty.
By the way, on that haircut point, Akilish is saying the barber of the Alpha giving a haircut to me, Ahmed. But dude, well, I'm bald.
Yeah,
look at
if
the
you
shiny. I'm shining, bro.
Yeah, I think the barber of the Alpha wouldn't mind whether you have hair or not.
Yeah,
you just get to sit down in that chair and get to stare at nothingness.
Yep. So yeah, we got a lot of more people in the house, and you know, Mark and Cromwell, they're just hitting it out. They're like, you know, Ahmed became Ahmed missing a lot of Pinoy food. If you're going vegan, yes, I know, bro, man. Yeah, Cromwell, imagine vegan pinakbit. That made me so sad. That's what Mark is saying. And then Cromwell is saying, Mark, the only reason I'm eating pinakbit is because of the meat or fried fish that comes with it.
Yeah,
and
man.
They're having their own conversation regarding food right now. I mean, like, that's awesome. That's super good.
It's making me a bit hungry. By the way, I gotta let you know, the people that you have commenting on your show, you've got Mark and Crom.
Yes.
These guys are hardcore food fans, man. And not just, well, Crom is a hardcore food fan that he likes to eat, but Mark is actually a very talented food creator. He makes his own food videos, how to cook things in under 5 minutes.
Yes. The what's called the recipes,
Yeah, but what I like about, you know, what Mark does when it comes to food is, and this is actually a character trait that I love in people. I think food preparation is the most generous of all art forms, you know, the culinary arts, because when you create food, you're creating to share.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, and you're giving it, you know, and you're creating that masterpiece for people to enjoy. Mark once went to my house and spent an entire day crushing peanuts for this dish, this Filipino dish called kare-kare.
Yeah, I know.
You could buy, you know it, right? Okay,
yes.
So you could buy peanut butter.
Yes,
you could buy peanut butter and you could cheat it, and that's what you could use.
And it's tastier with peanut butter.
Okay, well, that's the thing. That's what you would think, right?
Yeah.
Unless somebody uses authentic peanuts that would taste better. The only problem is you'd have to really be patient, and you take each peanut and there's a ceremony in how you're supposed to crush it. You're not supposed to crush it like that. You basically use the teachings of the Kalimbang, and the Kalimbang basically is the holy book of food from the provinces in the Philippines. What you do is there's a ceremony in how you're supposed to twist it first, and then raise it up like this, and then do this. And there's basically a whole technique to how you're supposed to crush that one single peanut. It takes 5 minutes to crush a single peanut using that technique. And Mark basically did that to around 786 individual peanuts.
Kudos to you, Mark. That shows how much you love food. And I would never sit down and do that for even 20 peanuts, to be honest to you. I was just starting devouring them with the I'm not talking about those with the skin, like if that and by the way, you guys do that man, I'm fucking salivating now.
Salivating.
The thing is, like, you know, well, you guys do that it's like stir fried. It's not stir fried, it's like dry fried. I don't know what they call it. It's with the deep fried garlic. You guys have it while drinking? Deep
fried garlic. Yeah, it goes well with peanuts.
Yes, that one. I'm talking about that one. That one is freaking delicious.
It's called adobong mani. So it's like adobo peanuts.
Yes. And man, now you know what? We talked about enough food. And we know that we know that we established that Michael, like he became a cook with the whole COVID push. The COVID-19 was the push, and now he is a cook, and he cooks like, I think that day when we were talking off air, you said you were ordering chicken and stuff. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
I was ordering chicken meat because I was gonna cook something for the kids. Yeah, I ended up cooking a fritada, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say something to all the Pinoy community that joined us for this session. Maraming salamat. That's the few words that I know. So that means like, thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Well done.
This is all the places I've been with my girlfriend.
Oh, bro. I think, and by the way, if you can learn that language, good on you, because Tagalog is actually a very complicated language to learn if you break it down. And not a lot of people know this, but Tagalog has a lot in common with Arabic.
And like in what sense? I mean, as in like, it's like there's similarities, as in like pronunciation, the same word, it's almost the same, or?
I think it's the use of the midfix, the suffix, and the prefix. Okay, so in English, we have a lot of suffixes and prefixes, right? So, so for example, usual and then unusual. So that's a prefix. You put a little element of a word just before the main word, and then suffix is what comes at the end.
Exactly. Yes.
So that happens in English all the time, but English does not use the midfix, which is something that you put in the middle. And Arabic does that. Tagalog does that as well. It's really funny because I don't speak Arabic at all, but my warbled Arabic, when I try to understand a sentence in Arabic, it's easier for me to think in Tagalog to see what it means as opposed to think in English.
Very interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm trying to imagine it. I mean, because I don't know what you're talking about exactly. As in, I know what you're meaning. I know the definition that you said. It's just that I cannot put it in, like I cannot picture it. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, so for example, like sayarati. So sayarati would be my car, right?
Yes. That's
in Tagalog, we say
very grammatic way of saying it.
Yeah, I'm talking, classical Arabic, white Arabic, right?
Yes.
So, but if you in Tagalog, you pretty much use the same sentence construction. You say kotse ko. Kotse means car, and ko means of mine. So, so sayarati, kotse ko. The structure of the ownership of the noun it's similar. So it's easier to think Arabic to Tagalog or Tagalog to Arabic than to do it with Arabic to English or English to Arabic. At least for me, when I was learning Arabic because I had to in school.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. I never knew all these things about you, Mike. You never told us.
You grew up in Dubai.
Yeah. The only thing I know, Michael. By the way, Michael, can you turn to your left a bit?
To my left.
Yes.
To this side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because as I know, and I want to talk about that. I know Michael through Sandwash, one of the first band I ever seen in the Dubai rock scene, and that was Sandwash. Cromwell was on the bass with you guys. Your brother Jay was on the drums, and you were playing. You were playing rhythm, and Pavel was on the lead. I think, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys were like a 4-piece band that play a lot of cool, funky, funky punk, and as we talked just like prior to the show, you said like it was hard for people like to understand it, so they just labeled you as a punk rock, just to go easy on themselves, But you guys were doing a lot more. So can you give us a rundown about when Sandwash started and what was the highlights and stuff like this?
Yeah. So Sandwash started as basically a band with just 2 permanent members. It was my brother and myself. So Jay, who is 6 years younger than myself, played the drums, and I played guitar and sang. So Jay was around 12 when he first, started playing on stage as Sandwash, and you could barely see him behind the drum kit. He was so tiny, and
he has like a baby face as well.
Yeah, he has that as well. Yeah. And then over the years, we added, different members to the band. We had a bassist called Summer, really lovely guy, really lovely guy, Syrian musician who I met at AUD, and he's still one of my closest friends today. And after summer, that's when Crom joined the band. And I think the personality of Sandwash was really formed when Crom joined, because that's when you had four distinct personalities who all had a different vision of music. So, so Pavel is really into metal. I think we'll talk about this a little bit later, right?
Yep.
Really into metal. My brother was a little bit more like myself, but because he's from a younger generation, he was bringing in younger music that he was discovering all the time, be it electronic music or emo music, which was his generation's music that time. And Crom had a very diverse taste in music, from reggae to electronic music to hip hop and so on. And I was also into that kind of diverse experimentation or taste in music. So everybody had different things to bring to the table, and that was when the personality of the band was really formed. By that I mean the personality of Sandwash is it cannot be defined. Nobody really knows exactly how to describe this band, because it's not just we'll play one song one way and we'll play one song another way. Within that one song, there are 7 to 8 different genres of music that are constantly making appearances and influences in the sound. And basically when Crom left, we had other bassists come in. We took that sound and we tried to make it more polished and enhanced. Unfortunately, we never got to put out that album of the more the next phase of Sandwash, because that was when everybody went their separate ways. Jay went to Singapore, I went to Malaysia, Pavel went to Australia. So we never got to record that and finish it. The one thing that people do remember are the songs that we had from the first album. And even though if you listen to that first album, every song in there is completely different. The things that they like, the things that people remember us for, are the fast poppy songs, which is the easiest for them to relate to, because they can listen to that and go, oh, okay, it's a little bit like Green Day. It's a little bit like Blink-182.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
So that's the closest that they can relate to it. But that said, Ahmed, that is not the case in Asia, by the way, especially the further east you go. So if you listen to, from the Filipino music scene, you have the same thing. You have bands who you cannot define as one thing. Like the most influential band in our country is the Eraserheads. They don't have one consistent format of music. They're always experimenting. And then I thought that was just a Filipino thing. But when I started listening to Japanese bands, it's the same thing. They have that much freedom where they're not tied into one genre that they have to stick to. They can do whatever they want. There's a really good band called The Pillows, who's like the Eraserheads of Japan. And then there's a band called Radwimps, who became popular because they're the guys who supplied the theme song to that famous anime, Your Name. And they're just as crazy. Imagine the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right?
Yeah.
That musicianship.
Yes.
The fucking cool bassist, the guitar player, the drums. But then you tell Red Hot Chili Peppers, okay, guess what, guys? Play as many music genres that you could imagine or conjure in your heads, and nobody will tell you what to play. Just play whatever you want and play as many styles of it as you want.
And
that is what.
Yeah, already Mark and sorry to cut you off. Already Mark and Cromwell are saying it's groovecore. Basically, Cromwell is saying basically that's punk rock. It's like groovecore.
Yeah. So.
and Mark is saying Crom likes emo.
Yeah, he does actually. Unfortunately, emo doesn't like him. That's the problem, because to be really emo, you got to be skinny and fit into those really tight jeans. And that was hard for Crom, because Crom really liked his balut and his shawarmas.
Balut, man, jeez.
so it couldn't really work. We have another friend.
And he's telling you, if you're talking about the Silver album, the first album.
The Silver album was basically when we were playing gigs, people kept bugging us for recordings of our songs. And so people were like, yeah, we're going to record an album. We're going to record an album. So what happened that time was I got myself a multi-tracker. Back then, nobody recorded in computers, right?
Yes.
I had a multi-tracker. It was a Tascam 16-track multi-tracker. I think I was one of the first people I knew who had such a device, and I felt like the coolest person in town, right?
Yep.
So we recorded the entire fucking thing on this multi-tracker, and then we got a CD. We mass-produced the CDs. We spent all of our money on the multi-tracker that we couldn't afford artwork anymore. So instead of paying for artwork, we just wrapped that thing in foil. And this is before Chrom's time, so we didn't have a proper visual artist who could have told us how to produce it better. We just wrapped it in foil, and then we got Samar to write random notes on a piece of what do you call it, sticky note, yellow sticky note.
Okay,
Each silver album basically gets a sticky note
with the album name.
No. He would write random things, so it's like a fortune cookie. So each silver album gives you a unique message that is not repeated in any other copy. So people ate it up, and then we told people that, back then, to make it more interesting, we would go on the forums and we would say that we're putting out the silver albums. They're all for sale, and one lucky winner or one lucky Sandwash fan will get a silver album that has a video of Maria Ozawa in it. But we're not going to tell you which copy it is. It's random.
Bro. Language parameters. We already used a lot of words, not this one.
Which one?
Maria Ozawa. And I said it again.
Who's that?
Oh, really? Who's that? Okay.
No, Maria Kunawa is a famous writer.
Wait, did you say Ozawa or Kunawa? That's my fucking mistake now.
Kunawa.
Okay, that's
my mistake. Who are you talking about?
Forget about it. Just move on. People in the comment will get me. I don't want to talk about it, bro. Just move on.
Who are you talking about? Maria what?
Forget about it. I'll tell you off air, bro.
Who is that? Is that like a famous artist or something?
Yes, it is a famous artist. People in the comment section will tell you. So let's see if they know it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let you off the hook. You have to tell me who this person is.
They will tell you. They will tell you. Here you go. We already have few in.
I got the one with the ad. Yeah. You were the unlucky one, Chrome. You were supposed to put that back in the pile and give it to other people, but you kept it, didn't you?
And Mark is saying that it was Francis who said Chrome likes emo, and we're still waiting for a confirmation from Mike.
Yeah, I just did. I just said that, Keeks. I told you it's because Chrome likes emo, but emo didn't like Chrome. Couldn't fit into the tight jeans. So, man, I mean, you guys opened for 30 Seconds to Mars. You guys opened for Simple Plan. You guys played a show with... we actually played a show together on Wake Stock Abu Dhabi that we both shared the stage with Maximo Park. I was back. I was back in the days. I was with Nicotine. I was playing bass for them. Man, freaking great time for the music scene, in my opinion. Things were way more smoother for bands to get recognized and grab attention. But again, it needed the hard work. But it was much more friendlier for people to connect to it, to each other. There was not much of heat between bands and stuff like this, which was maybe there was, but I was not aware of because I've never looked into it that deep because I was just that default guy, just want to have fun. So, tell us what's your take on that scene, and you opened for 30 Seconds to Mars and all these good stuff, man. Tell us about the highlights. There were so many different highlights, of playing in Sandwash. It's going to take us a long session if we were to tell, because there's so many. I mean, one of the best parts was when we toured in Manila. I think at that time we were the first Dubai band to tour in Manila, and that was a funny time because we didn't have a drummer. Mm-hmm. What happened was our drummer Jay. He disappeared and he was wanted by the authorities.
Okay.
And we didn't even know if he could be in Manila, but for some reason he was there, and he was with us, and he was in hiding. And at the same time,
Like, why? What happened?
like I said, it would take us a long session if I had to explain, the full story.
Okay.
It's and trust me, it's a funny story. You know, but anyway, so we all met there. Krom was constantly getting sick because he keeps getting food poisoning, eating balut. I'm not joking. He would
Actually,
eat
I
bad
think
balut.
he mentioned that that tour that you guys played in Philippines gave him a bad experience with balut. He mentioned it in the comments.
Yeah, that was fun. And I just noticed that my mom joined the conversation now, so I'm not gonna say anything anymore about that tour.
Hello.
So that tour was a really nice tour. Yeah, there were quite a few highlights, and then we started.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I mean, if you can just like give us the major highlight that it was like that wow thing for you.
So the band that I really look up to is a band called the Eraserheads. In my world, the Eraserheads are only next to the Beatles. Okay, some people have Oasis as that band that has a special place in their heart, or Metallica, or Guns N' Roses. Mine is the Eraserheads.
Mm-hmm.
And when we played one show, their drummer was there.
Oh, okay.
Their drummer was there, and he played a set earlier, and he was a very chilled guy. His name is Raymond Marasigan. Very chilled guy, very down to earth. He was just chatting with people. I went up to him and I was so starstruck. I went up to him and the first thing I said was, "Hey man, do you remember me? I'm that kid who pretended to be a reporter just so I could interview you backstage when you came to Dubai."
Okay.
And I think that was the wrong thing to say, because he probably had awful memories already of me stalking him when I was a teenager.
Okay.
And here I am now looking him in the eye and saying, "I'm right here, bro."
Okay. That stalker is me.
Within 5 seconds, dude, he fucking runs. Like he walks as fast as he can away from us. And it's funny because that's the exact same thing Kevin Spacey did when we met Kevin Spacey in Abu Dhabi. I walked up to Kevin Spacey and I was like, "Hey man," and that's all I managed. And within 5 seconds, Kevin Spacey is like running away.
Why, man? Why you have this? Why you go about it this way, man? Just be much more chill.
I didn't. Oh, of course, I was chilled. I wasn't like, "Hey man, I want your autograph." No, nothing like that at all. I think there is something in the dreams of these people that foreshadow some kind of experience in which, a guy in glasses would come up to them and speak about events that are about to unfold in their future.
Mm-hmm.
And it is best in their favor if they avoid such an encounter for the betterment of their soul.
Oh, okay. That's way too deep, bro. That's way too deep, man. I mean, way too deep. That's the only thing I want to say. And one of the guys in the comments was asking you about the gig you guys had in Abu Dhabi, some reggae band. He's saying, do you remember that?
Some reggae band. What was that? I can't even remember that.
I think, let me just check who said that.
Guys, you have to give me more clarity on what that reggae band is.
It's Krom. He's asking. Sorry, I just hit the mic. Krom is asking, remember the show we played here in Abu Dhabi that with that reggae band? I mean, he also doesn't know the band.
I'm being honest. I really can't. I don't remember. I don't know of a reggae band. Any memory of a reggae band strong enough in my memories that I could talk about. It could be anyone. You'd have to give me a few more clues.
So Cromwell, jump in the comments and give him more clues. And you know what? Let's jump into the main topic of the show. That's let's talk brand. Let's talk brand building. So before we start that, I'm gonna be showing a video that you've been part of. Okay.
Yeah.
And then once the video is done, we're gonna hit it with you, and you talk about the whole thing. That what was the concept behind it, and what was the initial plan for, and give us more insights about it. You good to go?
Sure, cool.
So we're hitting it.
In the UAE, 89% of the population are expatriates. They work together during the week, then on the weekend they all join their respective communities. Except for the Filipinos. Every Filipino belongs to a tropa, and they're together during the weekend and at work, lunch, dinner, when Manny Pacquiao wins, when Manny Pacquiao loses. So Du gave them a product to let them stay close with their friends. And to introduce it, we upheld the #1 rule of a tropa, to always stick together no matter what. The campaign began with a film shot at the community's most popular hangout, the Satwa Court. Its soundtrack was specially written for the story, featuring a popular Pinoy hip-hop artist.
Mamaw! Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya magsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan.
It made an immediate impact on the Filipino community in the UAE, which numbers 800,000 people. Pinoys kept requesting for the song, so we gave it to them. But more than that, we also gave them a full-fledged music video. Soon, upcoming DJs were competing for who could make the best remix. The song was even constantly played at malls and retail areas around the country, thanks to Filipino employees who exercised their control of the venue's music system. No wonder it is now one of the most requested songs on the radio.
Isa ay tropa for life.
But the ultimate proof that it became a legit part of Filipino culture, it also became a karaoke hit.
Okay, sure.
So yeah, you guys watched the video. So Mike, give us the insights about this whole thing, man. What was the whole thing behind it?
Well, this particular brief, this particular project was about reaching out to the Filipino community to make them relevant to the brand. And that's when, you know, when I came into the project, being from the community, I was able to share some insights about how Filipinos see themselves and how they think and so on. Outsiders typically think of, you know, when they want to reach to this community, to our community, they think of Filipinos as people who really miss home and are very sentimental and are emotional, and, you know, and they want to go home and be with their family, and it's all tears and drama and things like that, which is somewhat true, but that's not all we are. But that is typically how outsiders view this community. So it would take somebody like myself or somebody from the community to tell them, no, actually, guys, there's a whole lot more to the Filipino expatriate than you understand. And one thing about them is that the Filipinos in this part of the world will always do everything together. You know, you have other expatriates who would get together only on the weekends. Every weekend they're having barbecues or being together with friends.
Yes, yes.
But the Filipinos, they tend to do everything together. They will shop together. They will eat together. They will do everything together. Like, they have to be, you know, they have to be a congregation of people all enjoying the same experiences. And that goes down to the philosophy that we have the saying in the Philippines, which is walang iwanan, or makisama ka, which means be one with your group and never leave anyone behind. And that's deeply ingrained in how friendships are formed in the Philippines. So I thought, let's use that principle to create a communication of a campaign that Filipinos will watch and go, yeah, I can relate to that. That's how I am. So that was the foundation of the idea. But how we make it interesting is you go into what is the easiest way to get into the hearts of Filipino, and that is through music. So we used music as a vehicle to convey the philosophy of when you're friends with people, with your group, you will always be friends forever, and you know, like, no matter the challenges in life.
So it's very family-based concept.
Not family. Tropa basically means troop, and that relates to your gang. So that's your friends.
Okay.
You know.
But I mean,
So
the way I relate to it, it gives me that family message, as in like, we are all one, and that whole family love, as in like, to be with the group, because I've been with Filipinos, and they share it, like even with like even when it comes to food, they don't like to eat like if someone else is not eating, and they really like to have that gathering together and have food together. I'm just giving an example because I've seen it
yeah.
by myself.
Yeah, Philippine, our culture is very inclusive. A lot of Asian cultures are like that, very inclusive, and they want you to be a member of the family. So that is basically the starting point of that campaign. And then to turn it into an entertaining piece of communication, we went into music, and we were lucky enough that one of the most influential hip hop artists in the Philippines in the 90s was actually working in the same ad agency that I was working in, and that is Twisted Martinez.
That's nice, man.
So
that's amazing.
So Twisted is the rapper that you see in that video. So he became the hero of this campaign. And as it turned out, Twisted is amazing in front of the camera.
Yeah,
not only is he a very,
very, very, very charismatic, very.
Yeah, a lot of charisma.
Yes.
So he's not just a talented hip hop artist. He's also a great personality in front of the camera, a great actor. So he became the star of the show. And then the final recipe, forgive the pun, came in the form of the recipe. So that track was produced by Lucky Shield. So Lucky produced that track. That's why it sounds.
We're talking about Suerte, yeah.
We're talking about Suerte.
Yes, Suerte.
That's the
Shout
reason why
Suerte,
that
man.
that. Shout out to Suerte, one of my favorite producers ever. That's the reason why that track is fantastic. It's because he produced it. So all of that combined, and we had a great director, Richard Ang, one of the most famous directors in the Philippines. So all of that was a perfect storm. Again, forgive the pun. I'm going on a recipe trip here.
It's cool,
it
man.
Was
just take your time, bro.
Perfect.
That's what we have, time.
Yeah. No, I said perfect storm. He's also a member of that crew. So it was a perfect combination of all those different talents coming together. So it turned out really well. And that campaign became so successful, the conversion rate, what I mean by conversion rate is how many people bought into the product as a result of watching that commercial or that online film was immense. It was very effective. So so that continues to be a piece of work that is exemplified as great conversion, mean to say very effective, really understood the target audience and connected with people, not just in the mind but also in the heart.
So it's a very interesting thing, because how I see the community of Filipinos is that they're very intertwined. I mean, they're always together, as you said, because again, I'm saying my personal experiences with them, there was always together. Whatever they do, as you said, they go out together. They don't like to go to I can see it with my girlfriend. She doesn't like to go to the grocery by herself. She at least needs to go with like 3 or 4 of her friends. So you get, I get where the concept comes from and stuff like this, and it's very great that actually the video, I mean, this whole concept reached to a point that the song became a hit itself, and there was it was being played on the radio, and it became a karaoke hit. Yeah, that's one of the achievements of this this whole project, and that's very big, man. It's like very big. And like regarding that, as like there was any researches behind it, or like did it take a long time to do the research and initially to go about it and do like to go ahead with the whole idea and shoot it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I have to say that campaign, I was a part of that team, but it was a big team that worked together to make that happen. And one of the key people in that team are what we call strategic planners. Their job is to research the market and find out insights into how they think and how is best to communicate to them in terms of the touch points in their journey. So they did a really good job of understanding this target audience, but also the fact that I'm Filipino myself and I personally am from the culture, I was able to give them insights that are not research driven, but more of inherent knowledge about what it's like to come from this community.
So I mean, that's great. I mean, yeah, as you said, you had that advantage of being a Filipino, but as in, okay, let's think of it if you were not a Filipino, and for a person who wants to think out of a box like this, to reach out to this type of societies, let's let's assume another society, not a Filipino society in particular. What is the, like, let's say 2 or 3 main elements that he needs to look into as to branch out this big?
Is your question about if you were to go into certain communities, what are the things that you need to think, you need to study? Is that what you're asking me?
It can be an African community, it can be a Persian community or an Arab community. I know it depends on the community itself, but I'm talking about the main bullet points that you need to put your focus on and work on these to reach to these points.
So, okay, I guess what you're asking is more of the general practice of doing a campaign, right? So, to understand your target audience, you need to understand your target audience. That's the first component of what we would call a brief. And your brief, when it comes to describing your target audience, you need to understand their demographics. So basically their age group, male or female, what's their education level, how much do they earn. So you're trying to slowly shape some kind of model of who you're trying to talk to, and you'll start to get an idea of this person the more you know about them from those things. Those things typically used to come from your client. Your client would tell you who they want to target. But nowadays, agencies get involved in doing research and analytics to advise the client on who they should target for a particular product. And that's when the strategic planners come in. So, for example, if you're doing, if you're doing fast food, and you want to promote kids' toys, the kids' meals for the fast food joint, you need to identify who are you targeting there. Are you targeting the kids or are you targeting the parents? A good strategic planner would be able to tell you something factual that will help you decide what's the smartest decision. Your strategic planner might tell you, actually, if we're giving away toys, we just found out through research that parents are big kids themselves, and they like collecting toys too. So if you can somehow have a toy that is something that the kids will like, but the parents would also find cute and would want to place in their own collection, then you have a recipe for success. If that were to happen, then your client would agree to, would listen to that proposal and agree. Now you have to really dig deep down into what your parents are like. And that is the job of your research, of your strategic planners, using data. So through data, most of it is online now, online data. You could really hone and fine tune who you're trying to talk to.
Yes. These are very, very key factors, yes, as in any business plan or anything that you want to go about and the whole business stuff. Why I'm I wanted to dig on this because maybe some of the viewers they don't have the information, so I wanted to, because you as one of the youngest executive creative directors in Asia, I wanted to ask your on the spot experience, and that's why I asked these type of questions. And some people are commenting regarding the whole one guy over here, Mark, is saying he was a Etisalat guy since '93, and with this ad he actually got convinced and he jumped shift to do. And Cromwell is saying, yeah, Mark, I got a do number because of that campaign as well. So this is very freaking nice, man. Just because of an ad, and it just made everyone to jump shift. I think that way the message already there, yeah. So this is a very successful campaign. But so you know what? I think let's jump and hear the music video. What you think?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we're gonna hit it, guys. We're gonna watch the proper music video for this, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna start playing the rapid fire game section with my guest Michael Fillon, and we hit it.
Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya pagsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan. Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya pagsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan. Iba talaga ang dating, di mo kayang ihambing ang aming kalidad, lalo na pag nagkakaedad. Mas tumataas, walang katumbas. Pag tinatakot mo, lalong lumalakas.
Lahat tayo'y pantay-pantay, walang pwedeng gumulang. At sabay-sabay taas kamay, buong lipunan. Bigyan ng kahulugan, ng tamis ng samahan. Pag nagsama ang masabi mong tunay na kaibigan.
Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya pagsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan. Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya pagsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan. Iba-iba ang aming estilo, ang pagkatao, pero makulit, matakaw at seryoso. May babaero at sa huli ang matapang pagtawag din misis ay biglang uwi. Ganyan talaga pag kami nagbibiruan, bawal ng tikong, bawat isa ay nagmamahalan. Lahat maaasahan sa pangangailangan, ang tunay na kahulugan ng magkakaibigan. Street ballers, shot callers, we in the house, yo, you can't stop
Kuya,
us.
bukas na ang bayad sa nautang kagabi. Parang tagay sa tabi, di ka pwedeng tumanggi.
Street ballers, shot callers, we in the house, yo, you can't stop
Parang
us.
seven samurai, parang apat na pagong. Parang Tito Vic and Joey, parang kwata o kaho.
What are you doing, man?
Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya pagsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan. Pag nandito na ang tropa, mas masaya pagsama-sama. Buo barkada at kahit na makarating pa kami kung saan, ang aming samahan kahit kailan walang iwanan.
That's my tropa.
So Mike, tell us about the Tropa video, man.
Yeah, that was a fun project. That was this one was directed by Camille Rojas, who is another Filipino director who's based in Dubai. Camille is a fantastic director, and now he's doing projects all over the world. He's doing projects in the U.S., in Europe, and so on. And we were lucky enough to have him as the director for this project. That is the cast of the commercial is the cast in this video. So what happened here was when the song came out, when the video came out, there was a soundtrack to the video, right? The commercial was basically, you know, these four guys in the basketball court.
Yes.
Five guys in the basketball court. The soundtrack was so catchy that people started asking for it. They started going on Facebook and saying, "What's this song? Where can we get it?" So it was because of that we decided to record the song in full and shoot the music video. And it didn't stop there because it was so popular. They started requesting it on the radio stations. And that is how Tag basically started playing that song. It became one of the most popular songs of that year. And then it didn't stop there either. It just kept expanding and expanding. It became karaoke number and so on and so forth. But that video was fun because those same five guys were there, and their characters, you know, their personalities, you could see a little bit more of it. So from a commercial to a music video, and how that, you know, how that story is expanding, it's really interesting because you're enriching it. You're making it more, you're making it more than just, you know, a 60-second commercial. It's a story that you want to know a bit more of.
Yeah, man. I mean, it really explains the whole thing. It's like, it's a very, very, very smart thing to go wants, like, to put the behind the scenes and a lot of things that it feels like it's a behind the scene type of video. You're like, what's going on, and you jump in and he's doing his raps and stuff like this. It's a fun thing. You guys like implemented a lot of factors into it, and it has that wow factor, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's fun. And again, it's because we had the right talents, all part of the project. From Twisted to Lucky's music to Richard Ang to Camilo Rojas. It's so important to have the right group. So in essence, that basically, also is testament to the idea of the film, which is about having tropa, having a good group of people that you could rely on. Mm-hmm. And evidence of that is the fact that in your comment section, it's entirely populated by my own tropa.
Exactly.
So
I know that.
So my tropa has basically decided to rent your comment box, and
my
I think
comment box, it's for them. This show is for the guests and for the people. I'm just the host over here. I'm just the guy who's enjoying these conversations. So feel free. By the way, if you guys have any questions for Mike, please drop it in the comment section, and let the guy answers your question.
Yeah, we've got Crom here. There's Mark. My cousin Dave is on there. I think my partner's still on there as well.
What is Lakas?
Casey is there.
Is it Lakas?
Lakas.
Yeah, Lakas. I knew it. The K
Lakas.
is...
Yeah, Lakas means strong.
Yep, strong. Strong South. That's Cromwell's thingy as well.
Yeah.
So it's great to know about all these things and how far you went with your journey. That's great. So for these things, your role in this whole campaign, what was the main things that you were in charge of?
There were two creative directors working on this project. One is a fantastic creative, close friend of mine as well, named Rafael. And Rafael is now the ECD of Leo Burnett. He and myself were the creative heads working on this project, but we were joined by a whole bunch of other talents, other creatives. We had Vuzivu, who is a copywriter working on that. We had art directors. We had other writers. It was a big team. My job was basically to help add storytelling to that entire idea. The guys already had a story. My job was to enhance that story and make it really sellable to this target audience. The idea for the song basically came from the director, who said, I have this really cool idea for a song we can use here. And when he told us about it, and I got Lucky involved, then I brought in Twisted to do the line. And then from there, we started freestyling until we came up with a song that was, hey, this is actually a pretty good song on its own. So when the campaign came out and that song shone out to be the star of the campaign, then we expanded it. So from there, it went into, to the music videos. There was even I think a remix contest where DJs and musicians were remixing the song, so on and so forth. So typically in a job like this, you would have a creative head who is in charge of a team of writers and art directors who would fine tune and craft the idea. So in an ad agency model, you always have a copywriter and an art director working together. Those are the two people who come up with the ideas. And so one is all about words and one is all about visuals. That's the traditional model. It's completely different now, but that's the traditional model. Your creative head would either come from an art background or from a copy, which is, word background, storytelling. So, so me being one of the creative directors on this campaign, my background is copy and Raf's background is art. So we complemented each other as well. So that's why the campaign looks so good, because Raf is such a fantastic art-based creative director, and plus with the lyric writing that I have with the help of Twisted, that is why you have some really cool lyrics on, and hip hop elements to this campaign.
Exactly. Yes. So that's great, man. That's freaking great. And you know what? Let's jump into the rapid fire section of the show, and that's the game show. And if you're not familiar with the game show, with the game section, basically I'm going to be providing you two answers, okay? You can choose any of them, and you can explain if you want, you can explain why you chose that answer, but let's call it, like, make it as quick as you can, because I'm putting an element into it as like a rapid fire round. So
all right.
So just a shout out to whoever is still watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please do share the video with your friends in your community so they can know about this page and we get more traffic into the page. And if you guys want to join for the rapid fire game section, please feel free to join us with your answers in the comment section. So Mike, are you good to go?
Let's do it.
Okay. Brand image or identity? Which one is more important?
I think they're almost the same thing. It's just semantics. But I would say identity, because that's a bigger word.
And moving on, most extended brands are like subcategory or, like, you know, same category. Are they successful or opposite? They're not successful.
Oh, I didn't get that question. Say that again. What does that mean?
For example, let's say, you know what, that whole, no, actually that's not related. For example, let's say if Pepsi made another subgenre or like a subcategory brand under PepsiCo, is that a successful way? Is that a successful thing for the brand, or it's the opposite?
Oh, I think, okay, I get what you're asking. In many regards, it can be successful if you do the right things. So I think what you're asking me is, for example, if you have Cola X and Cola X comes up with Cola X, Cola X zero sugar, and then Cola X diet, and then Cola X, orange flavor. So you're creating variants, basically. Usually that happens when there's enough information in the client side that tells them that there is profit to be made by diversifying their portfolio. So you would not go into that experimentally. Very rarely nowadays you would do that experimentally. That used to happen experimentally maybe in the 70s and early 80s, but nowadays you have to have really good information before you do something like that. And your information would tell you, we have a section of our population who would be happy if you produced a slight variation of your brand. And most of the time that becomes successful. The question is, how long can it be successful? Because you have a lot of these offshoot brands, but some of them don't last. And some of them last. Some of them are, now you don't even know that they're a sub-brand. You just assume they've always been there since the dawn of time. But some of them only made it to like 6 months until it was discontinued.
Exactly. So it all depends on the strategy and how much push is behind the product. Basically, it's using the main push and power from the main brand, but the way you delegate it, that's the main important factor.
Absolutely. I want to clarify one thing. It's very important for people to understand this. There is only so much that advertising can do to convince people that your product is good. At the end of the day, your product has to be genuinely, inherently good. Advertising can enhance that story and give it drama and give it, a world of imagery for you to feel immersed in, so that you fall in love with the brand. But if you take away the layer of the brand, you're talking about a product. And if a product is not good, there is nothing that advertising can do to convince people to try it. In fact, it's the opposite. If you have a really good campaign and your product is bad, that's disaster. And it's always been proven over time, because people will fall in love with the communication, with the advertisement. But when they try the product, they'll be so disappointed that they would never want to listen to that brand ever again. And that's even more dangerous than being an average product.
And that's actually a good segue to the next one, is that does brand strategies depends on the geographic area or the people in like most
Both.
cases?
No, both are important. So your strategy depends entirely on how you can best reach your target audience. So before, it used to be a lot easier because of, everybody is watching the same TV program, everybody is driving down the same road, so you're all seeing the same outdoor ad, you're all watching the same television program. But now it's very, very different because of the internet and online communication. It's so fragmented. So now you have, we could be two very similar people, but our only difference is that, I like playing this kind of video game and this guy likes playing a very different kind of video game. But because we spend so much time playing video games, depending on how you talk to us, it could turn out to have a very different outcome. You might completely relate to somebody who does not know that you're talking the same message to a different, to the same group, but just because you're talking in a different way, you're only reaching one segment of your target audience. It's very fragmented now. So what brands do, what clients do, is they have a digital strategy that uses data to disperse the information in a very effective manner, usually through the information they get from Facebook and Google.
And there's a lot of people commenting Clear Coke, Pepsi, Crystal Pepsi. You remember these? It was like way off, like way old. And I think someone called Suzanne is watching from Philippines. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for tuning in. And like, I think Cromwell and these guys are talking about a lot of different. And I think Cromwell is asking Mark. He's asking Mark, what about powder Coke? Damn, man, is there powder Coke? What is a powder Coke?
Yeah, and he's, not to my knowledge.
And Darren is asking, how do I convince my client to fix their shitty product instead of trying to fabricate something good? Very good question, bro.
Yeah, shout out to Darren. Darren is actually in advertising. He's in the industry. He's a good friend of mine here in Malaysia.
Darren. Thank you very much for tuning in, bro.
Thanks for tuning in, Darren. So that is a very loaded question. I can give you the honest answer, or I can give you the convos in chill, friendly answer. So I'm going to try to find the right. I'm going to try to find the right balance for that, right? How do I convince my client to fix something broken as opposed to starting new? I think that's essentially what you're trying to say. It's hard for you to do that if you're going to talk from a, from a subjective point of view nowadays. If there was a time when if you're popular enough in the industry and you're respected enough and people know that you're some kind of guru in the field, whatever you say carries some sort of weight and people will believe you. And that was a time, that was a very specific, that was a certain time. It was an era in advertising. There are still certain exceptions today. The problem though is that, like I said, they're exceptions. Nowadays, your clients are more convinced by hard facts. So you need data, you need strategy, you need tangible facts to prove to them that what you have, what's on your mind is correct. The problem is the owner of information, the owner of the data, tends not to be the agency anymore. The owner of that information tends to be the client. Meaning to say the client has better access to information than you do. So back in the 80s and the 70s, agencies would create their own research methods. They would go out on the field, they would do questionnaires, they would ask random people off the street, hey, do you like this detergent? How do you use it for? So on and so forth.
Surveys, yeah.
Surveys and so on. So they would have their own proprietary tool for collecting that kind of information. Nowadays, that kind of research is best done and more effectively done by digital. So by by the likes of Google, by the likes of Facebook, by the metrics that are measured through the digital interaction of the target audience with their devices. And the owner of that information, the Facebooks and the Googles, they sell you that information. And that information, when it's being sold to the highest bidder, or whoever can afford it more. And most of the time, the people who can afford it more are the clients. It's not the agencies. The only way agencies can compete is if they hold their own, they own their own research methodology and proprietary tools that they can go to the client and say, the kind of information we have, you're not going to get it from anybody else. And if you have that information and then you make your point, then you have a client who's, better be ready to listen. If they're not ready to listen, even after you have all of that information, then unfortunately there's just no hope.
Man, this is such a broad topic to talk. I mean, you like to dig into it. I mean, this whole like Google providing you basically with the whole surveys in a nutshell in one go for the highest bidder is just such a gold mine for them, for whoever can, whoever can put their hands on it. And basically then it comes to the main thing, how are you going to use it? I think it really depends. I mean, I think it depends on the that pitch that they say.
Yeah.
The elevator pitch. So I think that's where you can get the hook already into the thing.
Well, so, the first exposure that a lot of people have to advertising, or rather the things that they know about it, are the things that they know from films and movies. And one particular TV show really gave people like a clear, not a clear, but an imaginative depiction of what the industry is. And that show is Mad Men. Have you seen any episode of that, Mad Men?
No.
There's a character. It's an award-winning show in the U.S. and it's about advertising in the 50s going into the 60s. There is a character there in that show. His name is Don Draper, and Don Draper is the archetype. It's the dream It's the dream character of every creative. They all aspire to be this person. They all want to be Don Draper, because Don Draper is a good salesman. It's a good presenter, and when he presents ideas, he does it with such finesse and such charisma that the clients that he presents to basically just nod their head and say, sold, we want that idea right away. Now, Don Draper existed in the 50s and 60s. And, even in the industry, in the real world, there were a lot of good creative leaders who were like that. However, that show is, it came out in recent years, and you have a lot of creatives who would watch this show and then go about their everyday lives in the advertising industry and face the complete opposite, where no matter how hard they try to sell an idea, they could not do it like Don Draper. And that caused a lot of pain. It actually inspired a lot of people to be good at their job, but Don Draper also caused a lot of pain. It actually made a lot of people disappointed in their own abilities, that they're not able to be like Don Draper. And that's the thing, it's very hard to be like Don Draper nowadays, because it doesn't all depend on your own personal ability to be a good creative. Now you really need certain tools that will support your argument. And if you're facing a client who has more information than you do, no matter how good of a salesman you are, you're not going to have an easy time making your point.
That's freaking great, man. I mean, please send me these links like after we're off air. I mean, I can even put it in the caption of the show so people can check it out. These are, I mean, I was not aware of these things. So, you know what? Let's kick it. Let's get out a bit from this whole brand topic. Let's make it fun a bit. Next one, Nike or Adidas?
Nike. Any day, Nike.
Fender or Gibson?
Damn, that's hard.
Come on.
Simply because of loyalty, because of
I think you're a Gibson guy.
I am a Gibson, but the thing is, Gibson for me is like a fling. Like I had a Gibson for a few years, but the long lasting relationship is with my Stratocaster. So I'm gonna say Fender.
and Cromwell is saying BC Rich. Yeah, it's always the metal dudes that they go for, like these models, you know, with the whole tribal looks and the different shapes and stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, guitars is something that you need to, you know, feel. Okay, you're reaching out to your guitar.
Yeah, he's talking about this basically. So that's the Sandwash guitar. So this has been.
Can you bring it more into the frame, because it's halfway? Bring it to your left. Yes.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. So Crom is referring to this guitar. This guitar has basically seen way more things than a lot of people in bands have. It's experienced a lot of beating, a lot of gigs, a lot of very crazy situations.
And you have this since when, bro?
I had this since 1996, I think.
Jesus.
I have an aunt who used to work in a restaurant in Abu Dhabi, and she saved up all her tips to be able to give me 400 dirhams to buy an electric guitar. And with her 400 dirhams, I added another 200, and that's how I was able to buy that guitar. And not a lot of people know this, but it's not actually a BC Rich guitar. It looks like a BC Rich guitar, but it's some kind of Korean brand that I covered the headstock, so nobody really knows what it's called. But it's a 600 dirham guitar, and I've recorded so many albums using that guitar.
Yeah, that's great, man. Sometimes you get like those, like, I don't want to call them like bootlegs, but you know, some of them are decent. They're actually decent. They are up to the marks. And Cromwell is saying that guitar where we practice all the Razorhead songs on, and he's saying that guitar is gonna be his.
He's been asking me for that for a while.
And,
yeah.
And I think Cromwell is asking you OTS or is it OTS and AKM? What's that? Is that
OTS and AKM? No, I don't know what that is.
Is
AKM.
it?
Oh, he's asking me for the brand.
Oh, okay.
AKM. No, dude, it's something else. I can't remember what it is, but it's something else. It's not AKM.
So let's jump into the next ones. Just give me the answer that comes to your mind, top of your mind. Nirvana or Alice in Chains?
Nirvana, man. Come on.
Yeah, I knew it.
If you're gonna compare the two.
Green Day or Sum 41?
Green Day. I don't even own a Sum 41 album.
Come on, man. I thought you would be at least into Sum 41.
No, but that's just that's the impression people got because of our music. But we didn't listen to a lot of those bands. The only modern punk American bands that we listened to were Green Day, The Offspring, and probably some Blink-182. But
and on that one, Blink-182 or Offspring?
Oh, Offspring.
I love Offspring, man. Offspring is the best. Like, I had fun. I got to know Offspring with the Tony Hawk series, PlayStation, the games.
Oh, okay. You came into it quite late then, so that would be around 2006, right? Or 2005.
Yes.
I bought the first, or actually, I think it's their second, the one that broke them to the mainstream. Smash, the one with self-esteem.
I think they broke out like way too much with the whole "Pretty Fly for a White Guy," that song.
That's what made them like like a kitchen refrigerator band.
Yeah.
So a lot of family what do you call it, a lot of households would have that song playing there. But when I knew of them, it was because of that song, Keep Them Separated. It's on the same album as Self-Esteem, and they sounded so different because of that guy's voice. He was doing double tracking, I think, and it just sounded so fucking cool. It sounded like the Predator singing. So I fell in love with that sound. They're nowhere to be found anymore. It's a shame. They made really good songs. The problem with Offspring, I think, is that they got caught up. See, punk has always had an element of comedy, right? There's always like an element of something funny about them. But sometimes it gets out of hand. It becomes too much about the comedy. And that is what happened with Sum 41 or Blink-182 or or some of these bands that came out in the early 2000s, and the Offspring got caught up with that kind of novelty, funny comedy thing. They started not making serious music anymore, and I think that is when it was the end for them.
Yep, and yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It was that it kind of died off like suddenly for them, and they were not, they were off radar for a while. And moving on, PlayStation or Xbox or PC?
PlayStation.
My brother, I love you.
PlayStation.
Reggae or punk?
Oh, it would have to be punk. I don't really know that much about reggae.
Oh, okay. That's I thought you would know reggae. Anyway, and okay, last one. Mike 2010 or Mike 2020?
Oh, you're always gonna say the present version of yourself is the best version of yourself.
No regret?
Absolutely not. I think all of the painful things that you go through in life are the interesting things in your life. And those are the things that become the highlights of your chapters as you write your book of experiences.
And one last one for the road, let's say it that way. Actually, you know what? I'll ask the one that Cromwell asked you. Metallica or Guns N' Roses?
Oh, Guns N' Roses.
Oh, okay. I never got into Guns N' Roses. I don't know. Although
that's ironic because Nicotine was almost like
I was getting
like
there.
A Guns N' Roses influenced band, right? Like you guys were so heavily into that whole thing.
I was about to say this. The thing is that my entry exam to Nicotine was to cover Sweet Child of Mine on bass. You see how stupid that is. They were so heavily into Guns N' Roses, and we were like, it wasn't my thing. And I was like, okay, if you guys want me to play that, that's cool, we'll play it. But I never clicked on the whole Guns N' Roses bandwagon, to be honest to you. Like, I didn't see for me, because I came from that school of thing, as I was telling you off air, off air, like I'm into rap and other stuff. And I had a phase of going into extreme metal, but now it's just, different. And someone Francis is asking, Mana or Lexi? What's that? I'm sorry, Maria or Lexi?
I have no idea. Maria is a song that we have on our album, and it's one of the anthems of our set when we used to perform. So whenever we'd play Maria, everybody would sing along to that song because it didn't really have words in the chorus. It was just whoa. It was so easy for people to sing along to.
And I still remember, and I think I came to you after the show and I'm like, wait a second, dude, do you mean that by saying that? Put your coin in the vending machine, you gotta put your coin in the vending machine. Am I thinking the right way? And you said, yes, you're thinking the right way. Even your album cover was so misleading for me. I was like, wait a second. What's happening, bro? Then I paid attention. It's actually it's the eye with the eyelashes. I'm like, dude, to be honest to you, you guys were thinking way out of the box way back then. And I think that made Sandwash. That made that element of wow factor about Sandwash. And plus you guys had energetic sets. Your music was very uplifting. That whole ideology of bringing this type of designs and kind of playing around with your mind in the first look, and then it takes you like few seconds or 1 minute to adjust and sink in. I love this type of things, to be honest with you, man. It really, really, I latch myself to these things, and
yeah,
kudos,
and
man.
it
Sandwich was a great. I mean, I'm sure you guys still still in touch, and I hope you guys get back and do more tracks, man, and release an album. But you guys were one of the freaking best bands I ever seen in Dubai, man. To be honest with you.
Thanks, dude. Do you remember what that album was called?
To be honest to you, no. But I remember a lot of things about it.
That's because that's my favorite part of the album. So it basically what Ahmed is talking about, for those who aren't familiar. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it here, so I can't show you. But it's basically an eye. It's a close-up of an eye that is
I wish
closed.
I had. Oh man, I mean, I wish
But
I had a picture.
but the eye is basically positioned vertically, so
Yes.
it kind of gives you like an impression that it's a different body part. And the name of that album is Freudian Slit.
Damn it, bro. Just damn it. I mean, here you go, man. Here you go. Another mind trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And dude, Mark is not letting it go, man. Dude, Mark, I will text you on FB and I'll tell you who is Mario Ozawa. Do not try to flag my show, bro. So, you know what? Mark, kudos to you. You were one of the best promoters I ever played gigs with you, man. I freaking miss you, man. God bless your heart, man. You were a funny dude since back then. I remember your band, Kerosene. You guys
Kerosene,
were,
yeah.
dude, come on, man. I still know my Dread Rock festivals and the whole Ratsky things, you know, man. We used to have fun. That's why I told you it was much more friendlier. Like, we had much more connection.
Well, I think maybe now we're going to talk a little bit. I think gradually you're going to ask me about.
We need to talk about the challengers. I was getting to the challengers.
No, I wasn't going to go into the challengers. I thought you wanted to go into what happened to the Dubai scene, or how is it that it was so different back then and different now?
Go for it. I mean, obviously you as a veteran, because I had this talk with Barney. Barney gave me the whole insights to it as well.
I was watching that interview. It's an interesting interview with Barney. My point of view is actually a bit more objective in why it's different back then to now. It's a very simple, fundamental reason why it's different. It's because back then, in the early 2000s, the bedrock of the music scene were the high school kids.
You're talking about the all ages gigs, you mean? Like, it was way
I'm talking about the people who made things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when Barney said AUD cafeteria gigs, those were basically myself and Adham, who were the people from the generation of the DC Battle of the Bands, who were teenagers. They go to university, they go to AUD. I'm one of them, and I organized that show.
Mm-hmm.
But it's from that particular age group. So for as long as the vision and the passion of a music community is in the hands of young people, then you have a thriving community, because those are young people who will do a lot of work for the things that they're passionate about.
Exactly, yes.
But what happened was afterwards, so if you look at it, early 2000s, you had me and Adham doing Sound Society, organizing those Turbulence gigs. We were the Turbulence gigs were the first rock festival that was entirely of underground bands. We I don't know if you know this, we put a show in Dubai Media City, the same venue where Alicia Keys played.
Was this before I joined?
That's Turbulence 3. That was in 2004, Turbulence 3.
I joined in like around 2006-ish, 7-ish. So I was late to the party.
Yeah, you were a little late. And then after that, we had Turbulence 4 that was held in DIMC, again, an outdoor event. But I'm not talking about just myself. I'm talking about all of the people who were the movers and shakers of the community were all young people. There were people in high school. There were people in college. And they were passionate about what they were doing. What happened afterwards was it's the same group of people who then grew up and became 20-somethings and organized the bar shows. And then those same people grew up to be in their 30s, and they're still, and they're doing things that 30-year-old people would do. But if you noticed, what didn't happen was a passing of the torch to a younger generation of people who are still in their teens and early 20s, who would then do bigger things at that age. That didn't happen. So that's why you have a lot of dad rock, right, in Dubai.
Well, to be honest,
which is basically,
dude, I wish everyone looked at it the same way you're looking at it. It's just that, you know, I have like-minded people. It's just that I don't know, man. And now it feels like it's a certain people, certain friends, like, you know, sorry, I'm using the wrong term, as in like particular people, like, you know, very, very specific people. They are in charge of delegating this thing. That's, some people find it this way. And even on other podcast shows like my friends are doing, they talk about this like very back and forth, because how we see it, sorry if I'm talking like because, you know, as Dubai was, even Nick was mentioning it last night on the Unmuted podcast from Adnan, that Dubai is much more of like a transit. You get people coming in, making bands, playing few shows, getting noticed, and then they move on. They don't stay. Because of this whole in and out, we had that, you know, break, you know, that cycle is not going, it's not just rolling in a, yeah, I mean, you get where I'm going with this, yeah?
I do, but that's a given. We already know that. I mean, that's Dubai. It's an expat community. It's not going to change. And you cannot say that that is the reason why things are like that and now you can't do anything about it. Because that's a very defeatist way of looking at it. You know, well, I mean...
Not defeatist, it's just like, you know... anyway, carry on.
No, because that's the most obvious thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's the most obvious thing that you can pick out. It is true, by the way. It is true. So that's also the reason why, you know, that particular youth segment didn't do much after that. What happened was a lot of those DC kids and people in AUD, they grew up, a lot of them went back to their own countries and they did stuff.
Yes.
But that particular generation was a very productive generation, because that is the generation that produced Nerve Cell, that produced Juliana Down, that produced Sandwash, and to a lesser extent, but somewhat still related, it also produced, for example, Asking Alexandria,
exactly,
who was probably the biggest success story somehow to come out of Dubai in one way or another. I mean, I go to the Philippines and I see Asking Alexandria billboards,
yeah, man, dude,
in shopping malls.
Yeah, man, they're
huge.
Broke so big, dude. I still remember they were playing a gig in Sharjah, in like a ballroom in Sharjah.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to them. They did fantastic things, and I'm sure there are a lot of bands also doing that. But what I'm trying to say, though, Ahmed, is that what happened after that generation? So if you look at the bands also now who are organizing shows and trying to do things in the scene, they're all the old timers. They're people of my generation.
Yes.
So the young people it was never passed to them. Either there was a disconnect between that generation and this generation, or, and this is my suspicion, the young people of today do not really see music as the important identity affirmation as it used to be. Before, music, if you're a young person, it's your life. It's what defines you. You know, it's the most important thing in your on your bedroom walls. Nowadays, kids are probably not as passionate about music as they were, or they're not fanatical about it as they were before, as our generation was. So they don't care. They don't really think.
The drive is gone.
Because they don't, it's just not how their generation does not see the importance of it. They don't think there's anything important about a live gig or putting out an album. They have their own way of doing things that are different. They have, I'm not saying that they're not artistic or creative, they are, but our way of looking at music, the live shows, the 4-piece band, the sound system, buy the instrument, that's not how young people think today. I mean, that's the reason why guitar stores all over the US are closing down, because kids are not buying instruments. The things that they buy basically are if they are into music, are MIDI controllers, software, and computer. They're not buying guitars, basses, and drum kits.
Exactly, yes.
So that format is dying. So that probably also explains why the young people in Dubai are not interested in any kind of music scene, because it's not that important to their life. It's only important to the people who are older, people like us, whose understanding of music is the 4-piece format rock band who needs to play shows, release albums, have t-shirt merchandise, and so on. I'm just not sure that that's relevant to young people.
Exactly, yeah.
Of today.
Yeah. That's a very good way to put it, man. I mean, I hope people look at it, this way and work on to make it better. Because it is happening. Don't get me wrong. It is happening. There have been a lot of good potential, very good bands, and great power behind the whole promotion and everything. It's just that because of different venues and like here cancels, there cancels. You know, I mean, Cromwell can join in the comment and correct me if I'm wrong. And he's saying, "Here we go, LOL." Okay. And Francis is saying new generation are more distracted with a lot of crap. Exactly. But again, maybe that crap, maybe in our time that whatever we liked was crap as well. I'm sure whatever we liked it was crap to our parents. You know, like I still remember one of the Dread Rock shows. Mark that was managing. My dad came to the show and he was pissed off. He's like, "Why you're not in the front?" I'm like, "Dad, I'm the bassist, so I have my placement on the stage." And then he's like, "So you're a dancer, but you don't do..." I'm like, "What? I'm not a dancer. I play bass. Who told you I'm a dancer?" It's like, "Yeah, it's like, tomatoes, for him."
Oh, dude, that's lovely though. That's lovely that your dad watches your shows, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the way I cannot get to that guy. I mean, for him, if you talk with him about his type of music, his old school era, then yes, you can go through him. But trying to explain to him nu metal or like heavy metal or like punk is like, man, what is this crap? You get it? So we cannot blame the new generation if they listen to crap, because maybe it sounds crap to us, but it doesn't sound crap to them,
Yeah, but I don't think they're listening to crap. That's the thing. I like their music. I discover new music because my kids listen to music, and their music and also what's being played on the radio, I listen to it and I observe. There is a lot of very generic stuff out there that you might consider crap, like you said, but there's also really good music that's still coming out today. What I'm talking about though is the entire infrastructure or the ecosystem, the rock and roll ecosystem. Exactly. I think that's what I'm referring to. The rock and roll ecosystem of you have to be a band, you have to release albums, you have to have t-shirt merchandise, you have to have photography and a poster of yourself. And all of that is the old way. It's different now. You could still write good music, but the way you would experience that music is different to that. And that affects how the young kids want to pursue music. So for example, right? I mean, I could be wrong because I'm not the target audience. I'm not that generation, but I could be wrong. But here's how I think I see it. If you're into The Weeknd, for example, right? Okay.
Weeknd is dope.
Weeknd is great.
Yeah.
But, if that's what you're into and that kind of music, right? Are you going to be, I want to be into, I want to be playing gigs and I want to be in the rock festivals and I want to release an album. I want to go to a studio and release an album. You're probably not thinking that way. If you're that, if you're that age and you are that kind of music, you're probably thinking, I'm going to record something on Pro Tools that I can do. I'm going to create a cool little clip about it on TikTok, for example,
yeah, someone mentioned
on
TikTok
YouTube
as well. Yeah.
I'll spread it that way, and I'll get my gamer friends to listen to it while they're playing their video games and whatever. And then from there, hopefully I could get invited to podcasts, so on and so forth. And then I'll give my track to somebody else. Are you going to record an album? No, I don't think so. I think I'll just record this song. And then maybe after that, I'll record another song. But, who cares about an album? I'm not interested in an album. I'm not interested in a record deal. I'm not interested in those things. Their way of thinking about how to be successful in music and how to find joy and happiness in music is different from how our generation did it. During our generation, success was defined by how many people can come to your gigs. Are they wild enough? Are they going to catch you when you stage dive? This generation, to them, it probably doesn't matter. That is not how they think about music.
Exactly. You know what? I want to talk about the challengers. I don't know about you, man. You need to let me know what's happening with the challengers, man. From where did you come up with this concept? I know that it's like taking whatever is the best in the world and finding alternatives to it. So what is your vision with doing this?
Yeah. Before I answer that, my mom just wrote a comment in the comment section. Parents used to carry the instruments to your gig.
Oh,
That's actually true. So my mom and dad used to help us carry the drum kits
thank you, Tita.
from our. Thank you, thank you, mom. From the car onto the stage. My mom used to help carry cymbals and
Oh,
hi hats.
That's sweet.
Yeah, and they used to, they used to ask their friends to come in and watch us. So my brother and I would try to play some Black Sabbath, and the people watching, they're the Coco Jumbo crowd. Yeah, 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 Coco Jumbo.
Yeah, such a classic.
and,
man.
and and they're just indulging us. So we would be playing, we'd be playing Paranoid, or we'd be playing
War Pigs.
War Pigs or Sweet Leaf or something. And these, my parents' friends would just be like waving their hands in the air like they're listening to Coco Jumbo while we're playing like
I get it. That's why I'm telling you, it's for them it's just different. They look at it in a different way. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the challengers,
Absolutely.
man, the challengers, hit it. Let everyone in the comment know about it. If you guys have any questions for Mark, wow, Mark, are you thinking about me? Are you thinking about me because I said your name? Anyway, if anyone has any question for Michael, please put it in the comment section. And Michael, go ahead. Tell us about the challengers. What is the whole story behind the challengers?
So the challengers, is my audio clear? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the challengers basically is it is an online show that is it's a representation of your typical conversation with your friends when you compare things. Have you ever been in a conversation with your friend where you just saying, "Hey bro, the best car in the world is a Toyota Celica," and then one of your friends goes like, "Nah dude, it's not, it's a CRV." "No, what are you talking about?" "No dude, it's a Supra."
Every
So
freaking
that-
time I meet my friends, we end up in this useless discussions, man.
Exactly, right? But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You sometimes go like, "Hey bro, the best guitar is a Les Paul." "No, it's a Stratocaster." "No, it's a Telecaster." So I just thought, what if you could create some kind of structure to that kind of debate or conversation and turn that into the topic of your online show? And that's eventually what we ended up doing. So the first episode was I invited my friend Rami, and we said, "Dude, let's try to compare. Can somebody actually beat the Chicago Bulls? Any modern NBA team? Can Steph Curry's Golden State beat the Chicago Bulls, or LeBron's Cavs, or Kobe's Lakers?" And then, that's entertaining. And of course, you have to get people who also know the background so they can have a intelligent conversation about it with you. So from there, it just branched off to so many different topics. Then I went from there to anime. I just did one now. We're editing it, and it's going to come out in a few weeks, which is about open world video games with my brother,
Nice.
Jay.
Jay, man.
And
I
then
miss that dude, man.
and then yeah, he's doing well. He's in Singapore, and he's working on his game, Chinatown Detective Agency.
Nice, man. Yeah, you told me
So-
about it. Yeah.
He's doing really well. And then now I'm actually delegating the job to other hosts who are going to produce their own episodes. The next one coming out, I think you will like it a lot, Ahmed. It's about food.
I love
Okay,
food,
and-
man. Who doesn't like food?
So I have some Malaysian hosts who will be
Nice.
talking about food.
Is it like
That's
traditional
coming out
Malay
soon.
food?
Actually, it's about noodles.
Oh, okay. That's great, man. That's freaking great.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I think you'll like that.
Yeah.
So it's growing, and then I'm gonna take the show to Dubai, where I'll have hosts doing their own episodes there. And my plan is to then branch it out to other countries. So you'll get people doing it in Singapore, in Manila, hopefully even in Lebanon, for example.
Nice, man.
That's pretty much the big picture.
Very good, man. So, give us more details. Like, okay, so you guys touched on anime. You guys touched on the whole basketball teams. Where is this vision going? As in, okay, you want to branch out to different countries to, to seek what's the stuff that they like and compare it. Yeah, this is where you're going with this. As in, like, to
Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. Even though it looks like we're covering a lot of variety, there's actually a very simple formula to what we're doing, which is indoor existence. So even if we talk video games, we talk the Bulls, we talk anime, it's actually all tied down to Netflix. You know, we can talk about noodles, we can talk about fried chicken, but it's all tied down to delivery orders. The one thing that is holding everything together is indoor existence. How can you enjoy your time living indoors? And that is the reason why the challengers came about. It's because of COVID. A lot of people are spending a lot of time indoors. So it's all about indoor existence at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So, you know, so even though we might want to do something like the best hotels in the world, or, you know, or the best...
to touch down on the mainstream things, as in, like, you know...
the best, the best airlines in the world, it's not something we would do right now because our focus is all about indoor existence.
And I think Darren is asking, Michael, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking of starting their own podcast with an ocean of podcasts readily available? How can one stand out from the crowd with their content?
That's an interesting question, Darren. I think, Ahmed, you would also have a few things to say about that since you've started your own show. You've probably learned a few things as well. The very basics, if you ask me, and this is my humble opinion because I'm not experienced in this in any way. I'm still new to doing all these kinds of things. The very basics of it, I think, is you need to do something that you are passionate about, that you love to do, because the secret to doing long-lasting podcasts is to be consistent.
Exactly.
You need to be able to do this week after week after week after week after week. And if you're not passionate about that topic or what your style is, you're eventually going to run out of steam.
Basically,
right?
you're a creator, you're a content creator. You need to be on a hunt every freaking day.
Absolutely. So your topic and your style has to be something that you can do forever. So, for example, with what I'm doing, I know I can talk about entertainment forever because I'm a big pop culture geek, right? I love film, I love video games, I love books. So I know that that's something that is I could be an expert in, and I can do it, for a long period of time.
And there's always demand for these things. You will never run out.
Yeah, absolutely. But going back to that question, for me, good podcasts are either two things. Either it's really good storytelling because of the production, or it's really good storytelling because the people talking are interesting. So Joe Rogan is not high production. It's basically just two guys talking, but he has really interesting guests who come on the show, or very famous guests who come on the show, and you want to hear their point of view. On the other hand, my favorite podcast ever, and it's actually, I don't know if you know this, by the way, Ahmed, I don't listen to music in my car anymore. And
that's why?
So since 2011,
okay,
I very rarely listen to music in my. I still do, but I very, very, very rarely listen to music anymore because my sound system in my car is completely dedicated only to listening to podcasts.
Wow. Okay.
And I've been listening to podcasts for a long time, but it's one particular podcast that I listen to a lot. It's a podcast called Radiolab. So Radiolab, it's like the Steven Spielberg of podcasts. Really good production, really good writing. When you listen to it, it's like you're pretty much playing a movie in your head. And it's not just any movie, it's a very fucking good movie. That's how good Radiolab is. So it's those two. Either you really need to have good production, or you need to have really good storytelling. But relevant to Darren, because I know Darren as well as a friend, what I would suggest is tell people something they don't yet know.
Well, sorry to cut you off there, Mike, but okay, you said I would have something to say as well. This is one of the things that not most, I will talk personally, I sometimes struggle with. And it's one of these things that it gives me that extra push to go and dig more information, to find more content. And that's what I'm trying to do. But it's one of these things. It's like you need to be creative. If the person just wants to do it just for the sake of starting doing something, it might not be fruitful. You need to have that passion and that drive to not stop. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like,
yeah,
content hunting should be in my opinion. Okay, if you cannot, okay, maybe if you're not a good storyteller, at least work on your content. Try to bring different content so you can, gravitate towards a lot of other audience. You don't stick around with one. And again, you need to have that self-pushing, and again, that comes to yourself. You need to push yourself harder and harder, because a lot of people, they started off, I mean, come on, man, I'm 18 episodes deep. For me now to stop, it would actually, be a huge mistake. I need to keep going on. I'm agreeing to the point that you said. You need to be constant. It's one thing that it keeps you on a hunt. If you don't have content in your hand, I think that's where the struggle comes in.
Yeah, I agree.
So Darren, you know what, as you said, you listen to specific podcasts. How I got into podcasts was with mostly only wrestling podcasts, like Talk Is Jericho, if you know of them, the Steve Austin show, Jimmy Cornette, Drive Through. The names are catchy and they talk about the topic that I connect to. You know what, Darren, you can start listening to I'm sure you listen to podcasts that you like, but you don't dive into something like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, he already been something else. And once he started his podcast, he already knew where he wanted to go. And as even Michael said, he's just a guy who just sits and talks about a lot of information that he actually researched before and he has in hand. And his guests are very, very smart. Like his guest lines, like his booking is beyond imagination. That's why Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan. But for us, we need to start, I'm talking personally, I'm going to be looking at small things step by step, and I take baby steps and I fix it on the go. This is how I go about it. Sorry if I took a lot of time to explain it. That's how I suck at these things.
No, I think you made a good point. If you watch these YouTube tutorials or YouTube videos about the experiences of podcasters, one thing that they will tell you is you need to be able to plan really well. In fact, one of the first things you need to be able to do is to get yourself a good scheduling software that allows you to book way in advance what topics you're going to cover and what things you're going to do. So 2 months, basically, 2 months from now, you still know what you're going to be shooting or what you're going to be recording. So, I'm sure, Ahmed, that's your system, right? You probably have weeks and weeks of schedules already planned out. Dude, that's pretty much how it is.
Let me put it this way. You were booked 1 month ago.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's
and
how
it's the same thing for me.
I mean, okay, Darren, you can take this as an advice. This is how I book. Now I have July. Or July was booked by June. Am I making sense? This is how I book. If I'm in June, I book for July. Now I'm booking for August already. If you have a schedule already planned, you will have a better, and be specific with the days that you're choosing, because you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. You get what I'm trying to say, because maybe you're going to get caught up with some other obligations in your life and you cannot do it. So there's few factors that you need to look into and study it and do some research how to put these things together.
Yeah, actually, I have a suggestion, because, like I said before, because I know who Darren is. I actually have a suggestion for him. For those who don't know, Darren is into philosophy, right? One of his favorite topics is basically philosophy. Why don't you do something where you basically relate classical philosophy to current events. You know, so you take something that has happened in the world, current event, and then you try to explain that through the lens of a certain school of philosophy. You know, like maybe something that happened in the US, you can see it through the eyes of Kant, or you know, something that happened in Asia, you see it through the eyes of Plato, and explain the principles of that philosophical school and how it relates to what just happened now. I'm sure there are lots of philosophy podcasts out there, but me being, you know, like an outsider of that field, if somebody told me there's this really cool podcast where they explain the philosophy of the things that are happening today, like, you know, what's happening in the news, or what's happening in the business world, or what's happening in the sports world, I would listen to that. I think that would be very interesting.
Dude, you don't believe it. I am part of some groups on Facebook, how to promote your podcast and everything. Dude, there is podcasts about suicide awareness.
There should be.
Dude, it's like, dude, these
because
topics,
that's an important topic.
Yeah, it is a super important, like literally, okay. I'm just imagining how the creator, like the content creator behind this type of concept, how he's gathering his things, you know. It's just one specific topic, and you're emphasizing on it. I'm not sure how he's not running out of ideas. You know,
it's lovely.
Yeah, if it was me, I would be like, okay, 2 episodes and I'm done, bye, you know. But when someone has this type of schedule and this type of strategy, he already studied it, he already planned it, strategizing it, dude, this is the beautiful part of it.
You know what though, dude, with that topic that you raised, that brings to mind maybe another pointer that could be pretty cool. The podcasts that I listen to, one of the reasons why I love them is because they help me with my work. So Radiolab and 99% Invisible is fantastic because it provides you fuel for coming up with ideas that relate to my industry. And then you talked about suicide prevention as a topic for a podcast. What I'm getting at is basically these are podcasts with a purpose. They actually give you a functional, a function. There's a functional purpose that they play in your life. They help you do things, or they help you prevent yourself from doing something,
or like prevent someone else, just to have like a heads up knowledge about it. Yeah. I mean, the point I'm getting at is that, you know, instead of thinking entertainment purely, a really good idea maybe is that maybe your podcast is supposed to serve a functional benefit. You know, like it's supposed to help you do something. That could be a really nice starting point. Yeah, that's great. I hope that answers your question, Darren. And on this spot, Michael, I want to head it back to Sound of a Nation, that you did a campaign for a CIMB Malaysian bank, and we're gonna watch the video, and then we're gonna be talking about the insights.
Sure.
Here's guy A, here's guy B, and guy C. Together they sound pretty good, right? And that's harmony.
CIMB, one of the country's biggest banks, wanted to create something special for Malaysia Day, a project that shows the beauty of the nation's diversity by turning people into melodies. It began by inviting everyday Malaysians to a microsite where individuals can take a picture of his or her face. While there are over 27 points that make a person's face unique, the site's algorithm identified which 3 reflected the person's most prominent features. These were then laid into a musical tablature. Meanwhile, a height map determined how loud or soft the notes should be played, and different parts of the country were represented by different instruments, thus giving every individual a truly unique musical identity. To drive participation, we demonstrated the technique to key opinion leaders, who in turn invited their followers to join, which led to a multitude of melodies being collected in a 3-week period, all of which were then placed in the hands of a leading composer, who weaved them into a meaningful piece of music. On September 16th, Malaysia Day, the music was finally unveiled online. It showed that no matter their differences, Malaysians create something beautiful when they unite. It showed that diversity does not call for discord, but rather makes for the most powerful harmony, one in which everyone has a part to play.
Yo, Mike, just before I let you explain about this, I just want to remind whoever is watching, please stick around till the end. I'm going to be giving a huge announcement. So it's good that you guys are still sticking around. Thank you very much. Share this video with your friends and let them know about Convos and Chill. This is why I'm doing this, to stay connected with people, and you guys are lovely that you guys are sharing this love with me. And back to you, Mike. Give us the insight about this campaign.
Yeah, this is a lovely campaign. This was a campaign that we did for Malaysia Day, and you know, Malaysia being a very diverse population of people, we wanted to create a tribute to that unity that unites the people. And we thought that a very nice, engaging way to do it is to compose music that will be done through the people themselves. So the people themselves will be submitting the musical notes that will be collected together, that will then form the symphony. But how you do it?
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, but you know, how you do it, that is when technology came in. That is when the technological idea came in, where we used facial recognition to identify a person's most prominent features on the face and take those prominent features that are then condensed into 3 points, and you put those 3 points into a musical tablature, and that becomes your personal melody. So imagine 1 person, 2 person, 5 persons, 10, 100, thousands and thousands and thousands all coming together with their melodies. That becomes the symphony of unity. And that is basically what this project is. When you listen to it, you're literally listening to the unity of people. So, you know, that was the central idea. And then we got a fantastic composer from Malaysia to weave everything together, Aubrey Suito. And he invited an all-star cast of musicians. You know, we had Fly, we had famous guitar players, we had, you know, famous, classical musicians in there. All of them coming together and performing that piece.
And most of them were
it was
Malay,
a beautiful
yeah?
tribute.
Most of them were Malay.
Oh, again, just like the tribute, it's a diverse collection of people. So you had, you know, you had Malays, you had, you know, Chinese Malaysians, you had Indian Malaysians. Mm-hmm. It's a true reflection of the diversity of the topic of our topic being the population of the country. So I'm very honored to be part of this experience, that I was able to be part of this piece of work. And for me personally,
you guys got some awards for this as well, yeah?
Yeah, we did. We were you know, we were given a few awards for this in local award shows, such as the Dragons of Asia, and also some media awards. So that means that, you know, the local industry recognized it for the idea and for the intent. So very happy about this particular project. It's one of my favorites ever. And it took a lot of work to do this. So it was quite an achievement when it was able to materialize. The message is, no, it's quite simple. You know, it's quite simple. It's a Malaysia Day campaign, and the message is simply that when we come together as people, what we produce is something beautiful. And how your target here is the entire country. You know, your target here is the entire country. I mean, the client here wants to be part of the, you know, the festive occasion, which is Malaysia Day. And hence, they are not identifying one particular segment of the population. They are trying to create communication that is inclusive enough to be able to reach out to everyone. Yeah. Well, actually, if you want to know the backstory to that, that is inspired basically by a story that I heard on Radiolab. So the story was there is a woman who became obsessed with bolero. I think it's bolero, if I'm not mistaken.
What is bolero?
I could be wrong. It's this symphony. It's this song. It's this piece of music that was written in the mid 1900s, 20th century. It's that song that goes.
I don't recall that.
When you hear it, you'd recognize it because it's a very popular piece of music. But there's an artist who became obsessed with that song, and that song is basically just the same melody being repeated over and over and over and over again. It's almost like a very primitive version of sampling a beat. You just basically keep something on a loop and you go over and over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And then what she did, she was obsessed with that song and she started to paint it. So she created a painting that reflected the feeling of that song. And the painting, if you see it, it's basically patterns.
Mm-hmm. It's like dots, connecting dots, yeah.
Well, yeah. So basically, it's visualizing music. So my spark of inspiration was, what if I do it the other way around? What if I turn a visual into music? And what if that visual basically is the facial recognition data of people? So originally this idea was about something else. It was about a different biological signature. Mm-hmm. of people, but the team that I worked with, we had a creative technologist who was very creative and said, let's do facial recognition and use that to put the dots on the musical tablature. So we were thinking before it could be DNA, it could be fingerprints, wow. But it took somebody who understood technology to say, with facial recognition, we can actually put dots. We can place dots on an identity, and those are the dots that you can put into a musical, a musical bar, a tablature.
How long this whole procedure took? Like, you guys were behind it for a long time?
The core of this idea was with me for a long time. In fact, the core of this idea, I thought about this idea a long time ago in terms of the mechanics of turning visuals into music. It was actually inspired by a very famous artist in Dubai called Chris Barlerite, or as he is known by his artistic name, Dallas Jupiter. That's his art name. Mm-hmm. And he was fascinated with drawing vectors of diamonds. The diamond pattern? He would just draw that as a vector, mm-hmm. and repeat over and over and over and over again. And that helped to inspire the idea behind it. I kept that idea in my head for a long time until when I came to Malaysia and I met our client. That was when I basically formed the idea into something that is more relevant to them. And that's how it basically materialized.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Ahmed, it says here you're muted.
Yeah, I was about just to say it. Yeah, I think that's the moment when I was telling you that this is very fascinating. I think I was on mute. Okay. It's very fascinating. I will repeat it again. It's just way out of the box, man. It's way out of the box. And such ideas makes that brand, makes it, very original. I've never seen this happen anywhere else, to be fair. Like, seriously. And kudos to you, man. You've been part of this journey. You did it, and I'm like, I don't even know how you feel. How you feel about this when now you're looking at it. How you feel about it? Like, give us the first thing comes to your brain, man.
I think I'm fortunate to work in this industry, and that I get to work on these kinds of things on a daily basis, and I get to meet people who share the same ambition and who want to do cool things like this. That's basically why we do what we do in communications, in advertising and brand communications. It's to be able to do creative stuff like this and be able to be part of the social fabric and the popular culture of people. The work that we do gets seen and gets talked about and becomes a part of people's lives. When that happens, that is basically the biggest joy, the biggest fulfillment that you could have as a professional in this field. But shout out, do check out the work of Dallas Jupiter, also known as Chris Ballerite. He does a lot of really good art, and he is one of the founders of Soul DXB.
That's amazing.
I think one of the co-founders of Soul DXB. Yeah.
So the last question, so we can wrap up the session. Very, very briefly, I just want to see what's your take as a creator director. Okay. Like, is it like stealing or imitation, or like, well, what I'm trying to say, take it this way, it's like learning from your competitor. Is it like stealing, or is just you're trying to be learning things and be unique in your own way?
That's a very interesting question, especially coming from somebody who's not coming from somebody who's not in the industry. It's very interesting. I'll tell you something that not a lot of people know, right? Advertising is the only industry, I think I told you this before, advertising is the only industry in the world where you cannot build on the innovations of another. So for example, the windshield wiper idea from Cadillac, right? So they invented that thing. It's not like Mercedes on the other side of the globe saw this and went, oh, we're not going to do this because that's copying Cadillac. They didn't say that. They decided to improve on it, make it better, and somebody then improved on it and made it better, and so on and so forth. That's how that industry kept pushing forward. Advertising is a little different in that you're not supposed to even touch somebody else's idea once it comes out.
Is it because of royalty, you mean?
No, because if you do that, you would be copying. And copying is the mortal sin of anyone in this industry. And the reason for that is because all agencies convince their clients that their biggest selling factor is that they come up with original ideas. And if you suddenly copy somebody else's idea, then you're not being true to your promise of being creative and original. And so to answer your question, your question being how can you copy other people's ideas in this field, or how do you stay original, right?
No, the whole point is that, okay, is it like taking, like, if it's that there is, how to say it, like learning from your, let's say Pepsi and Coke. Yeah, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. They're like not rivals, but by default they are falling under that category of being a rival. Being rivals.
They are rivals.
So for example, as you said, I think the first guy who came up with the whole 0-calorie thingy was Coke, yeah? So they made Coke Zero. And you see Pepsi making Pepsi, what was it? Pepsi Max.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's take this example. Is this stealing or learning something from your rival or your competitor and making it better? I mean, someone is mentioning that copyright is frowned upon in the industry, but stealing certain elements to make the ideas better is encouraged, actually. So here you go. Someone is actually saying that, taking ideas and make it a bit better, but still it resembles that copying, but still it's encouraged.
So your question is actually It's a little different because the example you gave me is a product innovation. It's not a communication idea. A communication idea is, for example, if Coke did a commercial and Pepsi did a similar commercial. That is basically...
Maybe I gave a bad example.
If that were to happen, that would be a crime, in the advertising industry. Unless you spoof something. Like you take something that somebody has done and you create a parody of it, and that becomes like a tribute almost, which is pretty much what the Tide commercial did, the Super Bowl Tide commercial. It just paid tribute to all of the famous commercials that came before it. But that is different. In this industry, you just don't copy. I mean, Darren is right. You can take certain elements that people have done and make it better. But then again, you're also conscious of making sure the element that you copy or the element that you build on, you're conscious that you're not going to take a significant part that people can recognize as a signature of the work that came out previously. Because the moment people can see that it's a replication of that is when you become accused of copying something, and that is something that is considered to be a big no in the industry. But that said, there are instances where things are replicated unintentionally, because the world is so big. Somebody who could have done something in China, and somebody who did something similar in the US, it's possible that they just came to the idea at the same time. I think it was Plato who said that we don't really come up with our own ideas. All we do is we just pluck existing ideas from shadows. Basically, his philosophy was that as humans, we're not actually capable of original thought. What we do is we make combinations of ideas in our heads, but those combinations are like Lego blocks. Everybody else in the world who are exposed to the same information has the same Lego blocks in their head. And if they combine them together into a certain shape, that doesn't mean somebody else is not able to do the exact same thing without having met you, because they have the same Lego blocks in their head. It's just a matter of combinations. That is basically the point that he was trying to make. And that is true. People in advertising watch a lot of them watch the same movies, listen to the same music, read the same books. It's inevitable that some of them will think similarly when they come up with ideas. So this happens a lot in this field. As long as it's not a blatant, shameless copy, then it does happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, yes, these are the things that any business or any brand, anything like this should be looking into. And it's just one of these main factors that, it's out there. I mean, as you said, it even applies in music, I'm not sure. Do you know the band Tool?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the frontman Maynard James Keenan said nowadays it just sounds like every band is stealing from each other. You cannot differentiate that it's original or not. The days are gone.
It's a very good point, Ahmed. And I'll tell you something else that's interesting. Let me ask you with a question.
Please.
Do people care? Do you think people care if it's copied?
They do care in case if whatever it's copied is providing a better, let's say, better service.
I mean, let's just talk about music. Let's stick within the confines of music. Yeah.
Music. No, you have the elitists that they talk a lot. They're like, this is this. I'm like, music is like, one of these topics that this thing really doesn't apply, because it's the creative part coming in much more. It's just the feeling behind the artist that he's trying to portray outside. But I'm talking about the brands now. I thought you asked me that way. Sorry if I answered you that way. But
no. That's how I wanted to to answer this particular question, because at the end of the day, advertising or brand building is a reflection of pop culture. And the biggest ambition of advertising is to be as relevant to people's lives as music, movies, and books, and video games, and so on. It wants to be pop culture. But pop culture itself, which is considered to be, the epitome of being part of people's lives. If you look at pop culture, just take music, for example. there was a time back in the 80s and 90s when if people rip somebody off, you'd give them hell for it, right?
Yeah.
I remember when Bush
do.
came
They
out.
still do, man.
Well, I'm gonna get to that. So if you take Bush, when Bush came out, everybody was giving them hell for sounding like Nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you though is, today, do people still feel the same way about bands or musicians sounding the same as others? And think about this. My question is, do they care to the same degree?
As again, I'll answer you with the same question. There is that 1% of that elitist that they still think that way and they really dig into it.
Yeah.
But rest of the world, they just, I don't know, maybe they gave up they just like, this is useless to talk about. It's art at the end of the day.
Well, it's two things for me. Number one is that people's attention spans and memory has gotten much shorter.
Exactly.
I mean, Spider-Man Tobey Maguire came out when? Like in the mid 2000s, and then that was followed by Garfield Spider-Man, something Garfield, right?
Yeah.
And then that was followed right away by the new Spider-Man. And the people who watch the new Spider-Man, a lot of them don't even remember that there was a Spider-Man that came out with Tobey Maguire just 8 years ago. People's memory spans are so short. They don't care. And the same thing goes for music. The other day, I was watching these music videos with my kids, and I was telling them about patterns in music videos. So basically, first we watched, do you know that song, The One That Got Away by Katy Perry? Summer after high school when we first met, made out in your Mustang to Radiohead.
The only one I know is that I kissed a girl and I liked it. What was that? Hot and Cold or whatever was that?
Stop pretending. Your band used to cover Katy Perry, right?
Exactly. That's the only song I know by Katy Perry. I don't know any others.
Anyway, okay, let me get to my point because I'm digressing a bit. So, that music video, The One That Got Away, was about old people looking back to their past and remembering when they were still young and in love. And there's a scene in that music video where they're getting tattoos. Okay, they're getting like a heart-shaped tattoo on their wrist or something like that. And then right after that, I showed my kids another music video. It was Mirrors by Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing. It's old people looking into the past when they were younger and in love. And there's another scene in that new music video where the young couple are getting tattoos. And then I made them watch another music video, which is 5 Seconds of Summer. They have this song called Young Blood. Again, it's the same thing. It's an old couple looking into the past, and there's another scene in there where they're getting tattoos. The only difference is that the 5 Seconds of Summer music video featured a Japanese cast, but it's essentially the same storyline. Now, my question to you is, the people watching, the people who are the target audience for these music videos, do they watch these things and go, that's a blatant copy, that is not good? The answer is, I don't think so. They don't care. They don't care.
Exactly,
for them,
yeah.
it doesn't matter. So what I'm trying to get at here is originality, especially with what's happening today. It's becoming a scarcity, and it's becoming an endangered species of art. Originality is becoming less and less important.
Exactly. I mean, again, in my opinion, it depends. I mean, maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong way, but I mean, everyone is entitled to their. I mean, I'm not saying that, respect my. No, it's not that. It's just like, again, you will find that elitists that they will still dig into this thing and, bring it up. But again, that push is gone. No one is looking into it anymore because there is other things. As you said, we are not capable of putting our mind on one thing all the time. We need to be a little bit distracted with other things to bring, a different flair, a different spice to our lives. It can be, for example, you cannot have a cheeseburger every freaking day. You need to change it. You get it. It's like this. As simple as food. You get bored of things. But as in like the same concept of tattooing being in every video, but like with different music, let's say, or you said with different like Japanese cast or like European cast. Yes, maybe that audience that's seeing that Japanese cast never seen the other one, so it's new to them.
No, they have. It's not. The same.
No, I'm just
people
saying it. I'm just saying it. Maybe it's this way. Maybe
No, it's
they're
not. No, but it's not. It's not at all. The same people who know the 5 Seconds of Summer song also know Justin Timberlake's song Mirrors. You know, it happened like there's like a 3-year gap, and both of those are worldwide hits. You know, so you're not gonna find somebody who doesn't know both of those songs. They will know both of those songs. So before it used to matter. It used to matter that you're original. Nowadays, I'm saying not so much. The attention span and also the value of originality is overrated in the eyes of people. Nowadays, what's more important is I don't care if it's a copy, but is it a good copy?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree on that. Exactly.
You know, that's how it is right now.
So, man, to wrap up the show, I hope I did justice to your topic and we covered as much as we could. So, last words, where they can find you and your final stuff that you want to present as the challengers.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank you, Ahmed, for giving me, the opportunity to be on your show and speak to all of our viewers, and some of them will probably watch this afterwards as well. In terms of how they can keep track of what I'm doing on my own side of the creative spectrum, I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook page called Forever the Challengers. This is where they can find all of our shows about the Challengers. The Challengers is also on YouTube and on Instagram, so that you can find it there. Just use the username Forever the Challengers. That's how you can find us. How to Spend 2 Million Go-Bards is coming out pretty soon. I'm still working on that. It should be out maybe in 2 to 3 weeks. As for music, which is incidentally what brought us together for this particular show, yeah. I am working on new music, but it's not rock and it's not hip hop because I've already done those things before. I'm working on country, so I'm recording a concept album, a country concept album that is about that's about general relativity.
And what's that? I mean, enlighten me.
Well, that's the famous Einstein theory, right? So general relativity basically just talks about relativity explains the principles of physics in the world of the very big. So you're talking basically the territory of gravity, the territory of space-time, which is very different from the world of the very small that follows electromagnetism.
You're really into the sci-fi things, yeah?
Kind of. This is not, it's not really sci-fi. It's more of just, it's just basic science, really. So that is what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, I do a few other things as well. We're working on a sci-fi project that we started in 2014. We're trying to put that together in a more refined shape. I'm working on that with Domain Entertainment. So yeah, quite a few things.
Man, that's freaking great. Thank you very much for joining me on this session, Michael. It was a pleasure, man. Seriously, I loved it. I mean, we kicked it back. I hope I made justice to the whole thing. I've tried to cover as much as I could, but as I told you, with your resume, and you've been one of the OGs pioneers of the punk rock movement in the Dubai scene. I mean, there's so much else. I mean, we could go for hours and talk about your resume, the things that you've done. And I'm proud that I know Michael Fillon from back in the days, and he's doing what he loves, and he's just enhancing himself, becoming more and more better. That's why I think you chose Mike 2020. And I hope Mike 2020 stays around till Mike 2100.
Forever.
Yeah, forever, as the forever.
Mike Forever the Challengers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I already put the Facebook handle and the Instagram handle, Forever the Challengers. You guys can find them. So, and you can go on YouTube as well. It's the same thing, Forever the Challengers. And before going to the main announcement that I wanted to do from the beginning, you can make sure that you follow Combos and Chill on Instagram and on Facebook, you're already tuning in, and we are on YouTube right now. So everything, it's at Combos and Chill. So share the love, do all the good stuff for the challengers and for the Combos and Chill. So are you guys ready for the announcement? I mean, this is huge for me. Okay. Soon after this session is done, I'm gonna be posting a giveaway. Okay, and it's something very, very dear to me from a good friend of mine that Michael knows as well, and he shared the stage a lot of time from back in the days. Nerf Cell, Barney Ribeiro, he gonna give me a copy of their latest Nerf Cell album, Past Future, Past Present Torture. Sorry Barney, I fucked it up. He gonna give me a copy to give away. It's gonna be with some goodies, and he gonna be signing it himself. So I'm gonna be posting that picture, the giveaway picture. All you need to do is to like and share the picture, tag a friend, and use the hashtag Combos and Chill. So I'm gonna be posting that after the session is off air, and all the participants, I wish you all luck, and I'm gonna be announcing the time and when the whole thing's gonna be done, and I will announce the winner on my Instagram story of Combos and Chill. Sorry if I took a lot of time, I had to address that. Michael, you've been a great guest. I hope I do another episode with you, like we talk regarding games, man, because I know you're a gamer too.
That I am, bro.
So, man, thank you very much for being on the show. It meant the world
Thank
to
you.
me, man. I really, really had fun. Thanks again, man. I will see you guys around, and peace out. Take care.
Take care, dude. Thank you.